G'day, this is Captainoob, and this is a JAK-12 Shotgun. This is a weapon from Call of Duty Modern Warfare, and it can also be used in Warzone if they are separate entities. I'm not actually super sure about that, but in Call of Duty, I've did a little bit of homework. I went and saw a Drift video at least the first 4 minutes before he started talking about, hey, you should go and vote. It's not a whole lot of relevant information that I can pull out of that will translate into this, but what I do know is that this thing does look like an AA-12 shotgun, and they probably just made it a JAK-12 because of licensing issues, but the AA-12 has a couple of interesting traits about it. It's obviously a very light shotgun, which is reflected here, and is super controllable with very little recoil despite firing the 12-gauge shotgun shells, and all of those translate pretty well into the use of this, just with some preliminary testing before I bring it on the table and start talking about it. And with all that out of the way, we're doing 201 damage, which for shotguns as a base on standard receiver is actually pretty good. I've found that modders really struggle to make shotguns good, and that's technically because of how Fallout 4 calculates its damage for shotguns, where it splits the damage between the projectiles, and what that tends to do is make the armor just work so much better against the individual projectiles, giving you basically 0 damage when you shoot something, even at point blank. We don't have to worry about that as much so far. It's a good sign, that big high base damage. Combine that with the massive amount of rounds we can shove in this thing, we might have some DPS to be reckoned with here. But first of all, let's chuck some receivers on. We're going to go straight for the advanced receiver there, which apparently is going to reduce our rate of fire, but actually increase it by 1. Not really sure what's going on there. And you can chuck on some stocks. I'm going to go ahead and assume that the ones you're going to look for the best recoil control are the stocks that have a higher gun nut requirement and thus are locked to a slightly higher level. This, you can have a rubberized, granulated, or a stripped grip. Let's go rubberized, that seems a little bit more comfortable. And we can also chuck on some sights. Reflex sights for these do pretty well. Looks like there's no option for a scope, which is a little bit sad, seeing as we could possibly get away with using this thing with a scope and slugs for a sniper version. See, there's slugs right there, you can use them. Notice how it doesn't increase your base damage, and it keeps that whole 350 damage into one projectile, which is pretty good. Whether that's hit scan, I guess we'll find out a little bit later, but you can also use 12-gauge frags in this, which is, it's kind of awesome. Again, that's just turning it into one projectile, but with a little bit of an explosive radius with it. And you can also grab Dragon's Breath here, which, through my testing, is kind of just blinds you to the target anyway. Doesn't seem to do a whole lot of damage. What I'd wager it doing here is just replacing the projectile into the incendiary projectile, so you could probably give that a miss and not really ever see the difference. You can chuck on a long-ass barrel here. This one gives me extra range and accuracy. Obviously, the range here, very, very important on a shotgun. If the range is too low, you're going to be doing half damage out to a very short distance, and that means you're going to be coughing up half of your damage, and that's not very good. We'll go for a 5 megawatt laser here. It looks like it's colored in green. That'll increase our accuracy, possibly hip fire accuracy as well. And a 32 round drum mag will not increase our rate of fire. That's just a bug, don't worry about that. But that gives us a giant magazine to utilize, so we can keep the sustained fire on for much longer indeed. Right now, we've got nothing on the muzzle, but we can chuck a choke, which will increase our accuracy. A compensator won't actually reduce our range, which is great. Or you can have a suppressor on the front, which increases your range because the barrel space has extended, and there's no such thing as subsonic shotgun shells, so I suppose that's how it's going to go. And also Ace Operator's kicking in there with an extra 25% damage on that, which is, I'm going to do it. Screw it. We're going to have a long-ass shotgun, but it's doing 438 damage, and we might be able to use it stealthily. This is going to be quite the powerful combination. And we can chuck Sleight of Hand. I'm familiar enough with CoD to say that's faster reload speed, and one more legendary effect is there if you need it. This would be hilarious, but I must refrain from that. What I'll do is I'll create a couple more of these slug throwing things, or just frag throwing, and we'll get to shooting stuff. But I should probably show you where to get it first, yes. To get this thing, all you need to do is go into the Sanctuary Hills root cellar. This is like one of the first locations you ever go to in the game, and if you haven't found it by now, look, it's been a decade. You'll find the JAK-12 right here on the mattress. This guy, however, is not included. He keeps following me around, so we'll give him the Malcolm Holmes treatment. Alright, so we'll be starting this where we usually do. This is the JAK-12 in first person in all of its glory. It's got a bashing animation. I tend to not really show those off, but that's what it's like. And when you shoot this thing, the recoil, very controllable, like you'd expect from an AA-12. This one has 12 gauge slugs in it, which if you fire at a surface that is metal and will throw sparks, you'll notice that it's hit scan. This is good news. That means we can snipe with this thing. There's also reload animations for first and third person. A little bit of a quirk about the animation set is that this thing will sort of AN-94 a little bit. If you want to just tap the trigger and spam it, it'll just fire faster, which I don't know if that's intended, but here we are. This one is the one with Dragon's Breath. I've loaded this, or I've kept the sights off of this because when you fire this thing and the Dragon's Breath shells are, they're making that incendiary effect, it's a little bit easier to see the iron sights than it is to see the center of a reflex sight. So that's why it's like that. And this one is 12 gauge frags. Doesn't seem so hit scan, so very interesting. We'll drop a quick save here just in case I crash, but we're happy with what we've got so far. Okay, we're on crash number 4 now, but I am nothing if not perseverant and persistent. Anyways, what we'll do to start off with is, knowing how most shotgun mods don't allow us to utilize suppressors in a ranged fashion because they rob half of your range out of you, what we'll do is we'll try to get a little bit of a few cheeky kills here and there. Never mind. They're gonna charge at me. They're gonna charge at me with anti-material rifles, the shotgun person. Okay, these gunners are just built different. But as you can tell, even when we're not getting sneak criticals, and that is not a place where I want to peek from at the moment, even without the sneak criticals, this thing, it seems to be doing pretty good damage, and we've found ourselves in caution again, so why don't we switch over to the slugs and try to get a couple of clean hits. There we go. Very nice. Again. I think that MG42 is vibrating on the ground. We're still in caution after everything. Let's open up with a bit of VATS here. Now, a thing to note about this, and a pretty basic mechanic, but you'll find that this thing, and we're still in caution, we're the masters of stealth here. Interesting. You'll find that as an automatic weapon, it gets a 3-round burst in VATS, which means if you line up the head, which seems to be a fairly presentable target for the gunners today, you could just 1, 2, 3, that's a kill right there. And for a shotgun to reach out and do that over range, well, that's certainly not something you'd get out of a vanilla gun, that's for sure. As cheap as it might be, it is certainly effective. So we'll move on from that for a sec. Let's bring out Dragon's Breath. We'll cover this wing first before we move up. We'll scare them by blowing up the car. Is that going to do anything? Don't know. We'll move under the visual cover of the mushroom cloud. Gotta say, worked a little bit better in my head. But point blank blasting with Dragon's Breath, like I said, it kind of blinds you, so if you want to use this thing whilst aiming down sights, well, you won't be so blinded. Looks like they've run around the side here. That is not super fortunate there. Let's bring out the 12 gauge frags. Now they've got a little bit of range to contend with. That guy over there looks like he's got some sort of machine gun, so let's just fall back into cover for the moment, and we'll engage on a fresh magazine. It's like we're throwing Borderlands 2 style gyro jets at him, and I'm kind of AN-94ing this at the moment. It's a little bit silly, but it's super effective if you want to just spam the trigger to increase your rate of fire substantially. And like with the slugs, this thing, automatic, 3-round burst to the head. The first one missed somehow. Interesting. We'll go for a crit here because I don't think we'll be able to put the missiles through the tree. And I suppose we want to get that crit back. I will spread the love out to 3 different gunners at once. That seems like a good enough thing. We'll switch over back to the slugs now. So hitting over 1,000 damage there with the slugs. With sneak criticals, much less so when not using sneak criticals. It's a significant margin. Anyways, things are going pretty well here. We've cleaned up this place pretty well, and I think that streak of being able to stay outside the gunner's plaza and just getting all those sneak criticals while sort of half hiding in the bush, I think that's helped us here. Let's do a classic door breach. Nicely done there. Just fire it and spread the love all around that room until everyone's dead. And before that guy even has the option of engaging me, we're going to throw him to the ground with our 12-gauge frags. Spam the trigger some more. And that is Gunner's Plaza sorted out. And with not really that much damage to spare. It's a little bit cold, so you can stand in front of the fire if you want. Also, it's sort of compatible with classic holstered weapons, but something must be a little bit off. There's actually a couple of drum mags there. That's interesting. That might just be a bug of the mod and how it's presenting its drum mags. But yeah, it's just a little bit higher than you'd normally have it, but maybe that's for just reaching over your shoulder and grabbing it. Maybe it's for ergonomics. Alright, so Swan is dealing with something over there, and there's a Nightkin Suicider. Good on him, I guess. That's definitely a... I mean, that's actually a cool idea because you're relying more on the sound cues there than anything else. And what have we got over there? Rust Devils. I mean, why not? Ooh, that was a collateral. Yeah, totally meant to do that. That was all set up just for that moment. And that's just a Penumbral Hunter. I think I'll let Swan deal with that one because I want to get a big streak of sneak criticals on him. At least whilst the sun's up, right? No, never mind. You're going to be thirsty for me, buddy. Get out of here. And now we can shoot Swan with all this glorious damage. So that's it normally, but if I spam the trigger, I like double the rate of fire. Slightly broken. Am I exploiting it? Yes. Is it my fault? Yes. Is it fun? Yes. And that's all you could really ask for. So, knowing the massive amount of... Wow, that's... Swan's killing me right now. Like, real bad. He's stuck on a tree, though, and that rock just sailed from the top of the bloody skybox. But looks like we've got the job sealed right here. You crushed him there. Testament to this thing's power. And I don't mind having that... Get out of here. Don't mind having that extra power and versatility out of a shotgun because the... Did you hear that? That was a weird sound. Get out of here, boom bugs. Just want to take a look over this ridge here because I swear I heard... Oh, that's just the Penumbral Hunters. What are they doing? He's fighting a Gulper. Well, we've got to be Team Gulper on this. Never mind, it's an Angler. And a Licker? I think I saw a Licker somewhere. There? Yeah, there you are. Good old incendiary bullets work well there. Sorry, incendiary shells. Let's get the terminology right. At least once in my life, huh? Let's move on to something more scary. Less scary? We'll find out. Alright, this time we're going to go for a little bit more of a personal touch on this ghoul because, you know, it's all well and good to lock onto his face and hit him up in... Don't worry, I'm just listening to someone else reload. Yeah, it's all good to hit him in the face and get him from ages away in VATS, but let's just do this a little bit more close. I'm trying to get some headshots here to increase our damage. For some reason, we're not getting sneak criticals, but regardless of that, he seems to be in a state of being permanently stunned, which is good news. He's running the completely wrong direction here. We'll try to get those headshots here just for that 69 damage. There it is. So we're missing out on a heck of a lot of damage there just by virtue of not getting the sneak criticals, which were not awarded for reasons that I don't quite understand. And a little bit of bug stomping to finish us off, why not? Can't escape me, Mantis. He's trying. Anyways, I think I might call it there for the JAK-12. As far as it's... Did something just get launched over there? There's a giant gulper over there. That's interesting. I guess we should go and investigate that. But in terms of of how it looks and feels and oh, they're a bunch of gunners. All right, I guess we'll finish this off the same way we started, by shooting gunners. Weirdly enough, that gulper was just random there. He was trying to defend my settlement, which normally has a line of turrets, but not today. Maybe a balanced person in terms of how fast you can fire this thing in circumstances needs to come to fruition, but ooh, nice. But other than that, this thing is great damage. I think it's actually worthy of use. It's a proper endgame shotgun, something you can rely on for a lot of damage. Is that a whale? That's a whale. It's vibrating. Is that what whales do when they die? Interesting. And now I'm wet. Great. So, yeah, if you like to see this thing in your game, I implore you to download it. It's a good bit of fun, and if you are a Call of Duty fan and like having COD guns or of turning your game into Call of Duty, then I think this is probably one of those mods you'd file under must-have. And I think it's sort of early in its development. There's a lot of attachments missing, and maybe someday they'll be rectified or added in. So, you know, this thing's got a little bit of improvement to make, and I think it'd be a relatively good weapon for you to have at your disposal in your arsenal in the game. Thank you very much for watching, guys.